Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Rob. Uh, this is kind of a special one because I'm also putting this out to my personal Facebook profile, as I did tell everybody there that I would have um, an explanation as to what's been going on over the last little bit, because I obviously worried quite a few people. Um, But this is gonna be like a whole story behind everything as well, with explanation as to what was going on, what is currently going on, and just kind of an explanation as to what's happening, and just kind of hopefully a way to let people know that it's okay to feel certain ways, and that you don't have to be happy and positive all the time, and that there are places that end up being a lot harder to be in, and it's okay because you can come back out the other side of it all. And I know this is probably going to touch on a lot of people, and some people are going to be like, "Stuck it up," or "man up," or whatever the case may be, and that's totally fine. That's on you for not wanting to either a listen or be in touch with your feelings and your emotions. I'm not going to judge you. That is just the way it is, and that's totally cool. But this is my story and the story for my kids, and it's tough. Like, I'm still going through it. So the story goes, um, starts back about 2 months ago. We met up with some people. Actually, a lady. They were Her and her family had two dogs, and they were moving to Ontario, which they should be there now. They were looking at moving after Christmas to get there, and they were moving in with some elderly parents because they needed help. So they were looking at moving in with them to help them out, and they had a rather large dog that ended up being a Mastiff Lab. Not as big as I was expecting, which was nice. Apollo was a nice, decent size, a little bit bigger than my other dog, Harley. If you've ever seen her on some of the past video streams, or if you've seen her on Instagram, he's just a was just a bit bigger. Nothing massive. Like, he's just a good size. It was pretty awesome. Fell in love instantly. He was such a good dog, and he was he was a lot of fun and quite the goofball. Um, he ended up doing a lot of funny things. Really kind of pushed the love from you onto him. He would come up and like nuzzle his head like right into you, and like make kind of mooing and cooing noises, which was pretty funny. I called him my Wookiee because he kind of sounded a little like Chewbacca from Star Wars, and it was awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I really enjoyed a lot of that, and as much of a pain in the butt as some days he could be, he definitely was part of the family quite easily. Fit in perfectly. It was just so awesome. He's such a good dog. Anyway, so that's kind of where the story starts. Then we fast forward a month and 5 days, bringing us to December 19th. So we picked up Apollo November 14th, fast forward to December 19th. I'm at work, I'm chatting with one of my friends slash clients, and she lays the bomb on me that a friend just passed away, like, that day, like that morning. And it was a hard pill to swallow. Very hard pill to swallow. I knew she'd be going through some challenges, health challenges, and other personal demons and stuff as well. And as sad as it was to be losing her, or to have lost her, I also, those feelings of loss came with a lot of feelings of guilt, a whole lot of guilt. Now, I always think that I deal with death in a positive way. Not true. I don't know how everybody does it. I kind of just get angry and plow through it and hold back the tears, and honestly, I don't really deal with it. Honestly, never really ever, never really ever have properly ever. Or at least it's been a while anyhow. Um, my cat died. That's basically what I did. Just got kind of angry, stormed home one day during lunch at work, and buried her and went back. My dad passed away. There were tears and crying, but in the end, I just kind of pushed through and just made what happened had to happen. Like I said, probably not the most healthiest way to handle it all, and it, yeah, honestly, it probably never ever has been. So just when I heard about my friend passing away, it was in the afternoon at work, and I just wanted to get through what was remaining of the day. So I choked back all the tears as best I could, and just did what I could at work to kind of just get through the last few hours of the day, and tried not to let the guilt eat me, because the guilt definitely was eating me pretty good. Now you're probably wondering why I felt guilty about my friend passing away, who had health issues and was fighting personal demons. And the reason is because she had reached out to me about a month prior, and I didn't return the call. I didn't answer the call because I was at work and I was busy, and I even let her know, like, hey, I'm at work. I can't get to you right now. I'm like, can I call you later? And she said she really needed help, and I didn't get back to her, and I should have. I really should have. You may think of me as an insensitive jerk, an asshole, whatever the case may be for that. That's my cross to bear. I still deal with it. It's hard, but it's also helped push me forward on trying to help more people. Not that I'm a counselor or a therapist or anything, but I want to be able to put something out there to be able to help people more and be able to help more people faster, which is why I'm building my website and adding a lot of other things into it, where hopefully I'll be able to help people in some kind of fashion. There'll be multiple tiers for different kind of levels of help that I can maybe help people with trying to move their lives forward, be able to provide resources. So if they are looking for like counseling or therapy, I can hopefully push them towards something there as well. And just hopefully be able to prevent anyone else from going through this and be able to keep people that are important to other people around, right? So, oh, sorry. And now we fast forward 2 weeks to New Year's. Yeah, New Year's Day. My car doesn't start. No big deal. I'd left it with one of the kids' things plugged in for 2 days and hadn't driven it. So, most likely just battery dead. My booster wasn't quite doing the trick, so I went and got a battery charger. It was a pretty cold day out, so everything probably froze up pretty good too. No problem. Got it up and running. Totally cool. Got everything done that I needed to do. January 2nd rolls around, go do things, and my car dies. Totally dies. Um, get it boosted just enough to get it home. Luckily, I was just around the block, so I was able to jump it and get it back up and running so I could get it home and get it into my carport and plugged in to get the block heater running. And luckily, the woman I've been seeing came and helped me and got me down to Canadian Tire to buy some fluids and stuff, and topped up like everything. Literally topped up everything. Got the car up and rolling. Perfect. Got wheels again. Everything's golden. feeling good, car's running, figured out what was wrong. Now going to go fast forward yet another week, and I'm going to go help a friend move out of her ex-boyfriend's place, pulling into the park where they lived, and we go to stop because there's some ambulances leaving, because it's a park with some older people and things happen, so they have some ambulances coming out, so we stop to do that. My car dies. It also completely dies. I'm now panicking because I thought I solved it, and obviously I hadn't, and just things are going wrong. Stuff's going crazy. I panicking, calling my brother, trying to get him to hopefully come out and be able to help me out and get him to help me get my car fixed. No problem. He comes out. We check it all out, find out it's probably the fuel pump because the fuel pump's not making any noise. No problem. Run down, go get some fuel. And we get the fuel pump replaced. Car still won't start. Now we have no idea what's wrong. Luckily, a family friend, big friend of my brother, was there and had his stuff to test it all out and find out what's going on. Find out something was something. I'm not mechanical. I couldn't tell you what it is. Anyway, we discover it could be something to do with the timing belt. And looking into it, we also discover that I have what's called as an interference engine. Best case scenario, just a timing belt is toast. Worst case scenarios, one of them is I fired out some cylinders and they'll need to possibly be fixed, or the worst case scenario, I've completely cooked my engine, which is not good. Get a tow truck, get it home, because my brother knows he can work on it and get it figured out. This might take some time. Go and talk to my mom. Trying to call the parts place. Brother's calling. Mom's talking to me. I hang up at the parts place because I'm on hold. Talk to my brother. My mom's talking. I ended up super frustrated because I'm trying to pick up my youngest son. I ended up storming back home with him because I haven't eaten all day. I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. I'm upset. We come up with a plan. Plan's great. It's going to work. Stepdad has a car that I can borrow because he's not able to drive it at this point since his stroke. He's got to wait for his license to come back in and the equipment to put onto the car as well, so he is able to drive it. So we go down Sunday and get it all insured, and everything's good. So you're probably thinking, like, this is all pretty minor stuff, Rob. Like, why are you talking about emotions? Why are you having such a rough time? Like, why are you talking about this? Like, this is such minor stuff compared to what's going on for a lot of people. And you're right. It is. It 100% is minor compared to a lot of stuff for a lot of people. But what I'm going through is also probably more major than what a lot of people are going through as well. And for me, all the stuff that's leading up has been super major, or little pieces piling up, and they feel like they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, I talked to a friend this week, and my analogy to how I'm feeling is like my life is like a cup. Life is a cup, and it just has constant drips going into it and going into it and going into it. Everything's just dripping in. Nothing's getting taken out. Just life keeps dripping. Small drips, big drips, sometimes fast drips, multiple little ones, fast ones, big ones all at the same time. Till life just overflows and you just can't handle it anymore. And it's not easy when life gets to that point. It's not fun. It's heartbreaking. And the only really remedy to it all is to have dealt with the bigger things and some of the small things at that time and faster than letting them build up. So back to the story. So the car's running, got the tires inflated, and things seem to be working really well. Exciting, excellent. Kids are going back to school the next day. They got an extra week off in British Columbia after Christmas because of the Omicron variant for COVID-19. They weren't too sure exactly if all the protocols were going to work well. So each of the school districts kind of came up with plans to get everyone back to school safely over Christmas and an extra week to make sure everything was put into place. Totally cool. Awesome. Glad to hear that they were trying to put everyone in a nice, safe environment for learning again. My youngest son's autistic. If you haven't been aware of that, or are just new to everything, or haven't been paying attention to my life for the last 12 years, if you're a friend. And so, first day of school, drop him off. He's being a bit of a butt nugget off and on throughout the day. Morning at home was fine, but getting him up to the school was a bit of a chore. Told him to behave and not to hit people, or just general good behavior, or else he wouldn't be getting French fries from grandma, and he wouldn't be getting things at home. So I drop him off. Everything seems good. Go and drop off my oldest son at school because they have two different schools now. And I get to work. I'm early. No big deal. I hang out, get sat down at my desk, get water, get all the stuff done that I need to do to start my day. Literally turn on my computer, power it up, get logged in. Phone call from the school. Youngest isn't doing so well. Can you come and get him? He's not transitioning well, and he's upset and he's hitting people. All the things I had just told him not to do literally 35 minutes ago. So I've been at work or in the office for 15 whole minutes. I've been powered up for 5, and I'm having to go. So I send a mass email to the office and to our intern managers, letting them know I gotta go get my son. He's not transitioning at school. He's misbehaving. I'm going to go work from home. Now, to the teacher's credit, they were going to try and keep him for the day and just make it work. But that wasn't fair to them either. So what I ended up doing, I ended up going to go get him. I took him home, and I ended up working from home. Little did I know that me working from home wasn't allowed, and I needed to get authorization. I didn't know this. I felt like I got in a bunch of trouble for doing the thing that I thought was proper and the correct thing to do with my youngest son not behaving and still being able to get my work done, not having to use a sick day, still getting work done. Got a lot of work done, actually. So the fact that I got into some hot water over this really layered on some more frustration, dripped some more drops into that cup. So during my workday, son is grounded, sits in the chair right off to my left here, and just sits there. This is his punishment. No iPad, doesn't get his iPhone that's not connected to anything. It's literally the internet. That's all it can do. Doesn't have his TV, doesn't have his Nintendo Switch, locked out of his room because that's where all his toys are. He's grounded. He's been talking about grounding. He's wanted to be grounded. He's now grounded. He still has all his work to do. So he's sitting there with crayons, coloring, writing, drawing. I gave him his boogie board so he can like write on it and trace pictures and do all kinds of things and play a little bit and still learn. We go for a walk on our lunch break with Apollo and Harley. We have a good time. I push down on Apollo's butt to make sure he sits at each intersection before we cross. The last time we do it, he yelps. And I'm like, oh, shoot, like, are you okay? Like, his legs kind of slipped out a little bit on the ice. Didn't think too much of it. He seemed fine. Looked up at me, was like, oh, that kind of didn't feel good. I'm like, okay, like, scratch his head. I'm like, good boy, you're doing good. So we go walk home, give the dogs treats, compliment them on their good behavior and how well they walked. And then he kind of seemed a little off, but I didn't think a huge amount of it because he did kind of hurt his leg on the ice when I pushed his butt down. So no real big deal. Didn't think too much of it. And As the day went on, I got kind of concerned because he was being very lethargic and a little bit didn't seem quite himself. So my mom came over, grandma, and checked him out, and she's like, "Oh no, he's just limping. It's not that big of a deal. Didn't really see any signs of too much else." And we're like, "Okay, not a problem. Like if it gets worse, we'll take him to the vet in the morning. No problem. We'll figure it out." My youngest son starts acting up more, so he gets his grounding escalated, and I escalated heavy, high and heavy. So he's a big Thomas fanatic, like a lot of autistic kids are. So I had bought him this big trains and cranes super tower for Christmas. Took it away. Took all his trains, dumped them back into their box, and took the box away because I was so frustrated with him, and he was being such a turd that I grounded him even further. And the frustration kept kind of building with that. But it's so I grounded him even further. And then bedtime rolls around, get everyone ready for bed because we got school the next day. My oldest helps get everything kind of plotted and ready, and lunches made, and showers and baths for everybody. And we all get to bed. Everything seems fine. Checked on Apollo. He looked like he was okay. He was just kind of sleeping in my oldest son's room, which was a little odd, but not too unusual because the dogs do enjoy sleeping in there. It's a little bit cooler typically, especially under his loft bed and kind of in the far corner. And then everyone went to bed. Everyone went to sleep. I woke up at my normal time. Came out to the living room to check on Apollo. Didn't see him. I was like, okay, that's a little odd. Went to my oldest son's room because that's where he last was, and I found him. He went to sleep and never woke up. So, one of the most devastating moments. Oh, I hadn't even had him for 2 months. And he just went to sleep and just didn't wake up. And being that he was in my oldest son's room, he heard me trying to wake him up and starting to panic, and I'm trying to call my mom because she doesn't live far away to try and come and help, and she's not answering because it's like 6:05 a.m. and she's typically not up for like another hour and a half at least, if not a little bit later, like 7:38, whatever. So I'm going into panic mode, and I didn't quite know what to do, and finally get a hold of her. I'm like, and then put a thing out on Facebook where I just like I hate 2022. 2022 can go to hell because Facebook doesn't give you enough to put all the feelings in. I had like angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, filled, overfilled with guilt. And one of my friends who I met in the spring of 2021 immediately called. Like she was probably the first person who saw it and was like on the phone instantly with me and talking to me. And I had texted my mom a few times, and one of them was like, "I killed him. I effing killed my dog." So, because I had pushed on his butt, he yelped. I thought it was something I ended up doing. I thought it was my fault that he ended up dying. I ended up becoming completely inconsolable after that. I hit the floor onto my knees, put my hands on my face and just started screaming, no, 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 as hard as I could into my hands. So while I was crying and sobbing and screaming, my kids didn't know what to do. I scared them a bit, I'm sure. I ended up going back and just laying in my bed and just on my back and crying and screaming and yelling, no, no. My oldest son, being a smart guy that he is, ended up FaceTiming his mom to let her know what was going on and try to get a little bit of help from him or from her for himself and his brother, just so that they had someone calm to talk to, because that was not me. I was the furthest thing from calm, cool, and collected. I was completely unconsolable and needed no and needed to get help. And the overwhelming outpour of help from people after my Facebook post was just incredible. Just incredible. And I just thank you to everyone who reached out, who called if I didn't get a chance to call you back or take your call or return messages. There was just so many people that reached out to check on me because the post I put, like one of my friends says, this is not you. It wasn't. I had reached a breaking point and I just couldn't handle it anymore. I had one friend in Kamloops the night before asked if I thought he was dying, and I didn't at the time. And I replied back to that message said he did die. And my mom came over. We loaded him. We picked him up as best we could and put him on his blanket. And we dragged him outside to my shop because we couldn't leave him inside in my son's room. And then the woman I've been seeing came over to console me and cook breakfast for everybody and just kind of get our day going. And I thank her so much for that. I just so much appreciation for that kind of help. I really needed it. Another friend, Mike, asked me if I did journaling, which I do. And it took me all of Tuesday to just be able to even think about it. And I didn't start until Wednesday morning. But Tuesday, my brother came over and built a shelter around my car so he could start working on it to try and keep warm because it is winter here in Canada. And then later in the afternoon, we were starting to get everyone going. My brother helped me pack Apollo out to his car and get him into the back. I got my kids off to their moms, and then I met my brother at the vet where we were sending him to go get cremated. And took him in, said my last goodbyes. Now we're just waiting for the ashes to come back. I lost 2 friends in 3 weeks. Didn't have Apollo for 2 months before he passed away. It still really hurts. Hurts a lot. So what we ended up doing is getting him cremated. I basically spent the rest of the night at home on my own, just trying to relax and just kind of calm down a little bit. It was a good sleep finally, which was emotionally drained right out. And I started journaling in the morning. Went and picked up my kids to take them to school. Picked up my oldest because their mom takes the youngest up to school. So I picked up my oldest to take him to school. Got to work late. And my coworker came and sat down, was going to give me some paperwork that I needed to deal with for a client of mine, and just asked me if I was okay. And I thought I was together, and I wasn't. I totally broke down again. Just crying and just telling me to go home. And I'm like, I can't go home. I can't be at home. Like being at home just, it hurts too much. And I was trying to explain a bit about what was going on, but she just unfortunately kind of latched onto one part of what I was saying and thought that was the whole problem when it wasn't. It was actually just a minor part of it overall, but it was just those drips into that cup that just finally overflowed it all. So she told me just to go talk to my mom, which I did. Took some time, and she goes like, I'll just let the supervisor know that you're going to be out for just a little bit, and we'll see how it goes from there. I came back about an hour-ish later and continued on with work. Still feeling racked with guilt, even though people told me there was nothing I could have done. It honestly didn't feel that way. It didn't really feel that way until yesterday. And I'll get to that in a bit. So I pulled myself kind of together, and throughout the day I just kind of wrote in my journal. And I told another coworker what was going on. And she was like, why are you not at home? Like, just go home. I told her I couldn't. And then I found out we're both kind of sailing the same sea right at the moment, because her dog had passed away the week before. Her husband's truck died this week, the week after when my car died. He barely got home from Vancouver and wasn't able to get back to work and help run his business down there. So we're both in the same turbulent waters at the moment, just slightly different vessels cruising the same seas. And then Thursday was a better day. I kept journaling throughout Wednesday, throughout the day, throughout the night. Thursday, same thing, just journaling. Kind of held back the tears a lot better. Was able to get through a few things a little bit faster, a little bit better. People kept at work checking on me. Friends that reached out through Facebook kept kind of checking on me throughout the day as well more. Friday came around, and Friday wasn't as good a day. It was going to be the first day back for the kids to the house without Apollo, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. I ended up late for work because of it. I had to close my door and just pull myself together again, and wrote in my journal some more, and just tried to collect myself as best I could to face the day. And just, yeah, same thing, just kind of wrote through my journal, tried to deal with work as best I could, and choke back as much in the way of tears and emotion as I could, just to try and keep me going through the day. We got home Friday, and it sounded like we were getting some good news on the car, which was nice. So it was like finally things were kind of starting to maybe take a bit of a turn, which was awesome. And the kids were pretty good. The school helped me out with getting some resources for my youngest to try to explain death a little bit, and I got some other resources as well from the site they use for a lot of their free stuff, which is awesome. Which I gotta get printed up here today too, to try and work with it. And they always say things come in threes. Mine felt like they came in kind of fours. This four with my friend passing away before Christmas. As minor as it is, my car dying, as kind of minor as it is, my son acting up at school and having to be grounded, like those could be like half points to equal the second one, I guess. And then Apollo passing away was the one that really just sent everything over. It really sent everything over. You see, I'm still broken up about it, but it did just happen this past Tuesday. So, for those who are wanting kind of reference, they would make it like the 9th or something like that. 11th. Sorry that this all ended up happening. And it's been traumatic. And like I said, I know some of you are going to be like, this is nothing compared to what some other people are going through. And you're right. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, like this is what I'm going through. And I've been trying to hold things together for so long with what feels like dollar store duct tape and chewing gum that it's finally just broken, and broken good. Like I woke up Saturday and all the grief and guilt and pain that I felt actually manifested pain in my chest, and it hurt. Like it actually physically hurts. It actually feels like I have a hole in my chest from all this pain that I've been going through this week. And probably from everything else over life just compounding, like, and being under stress with work and trying to create my own business so I can find the fulfillment that I'm looking for in work and in life, and try to maintain contacts and friendships and relationships, which is a good part. Like I enjoy everything that I do. Maybe not so much the job most times, but that's what it is at this point. And everything just kind of built up and overflowed. And there are things I should have just dealt with one at a time. And at that time, at work, I like dealing with one thing at a time. I don't like multitasking at work. So why am I trying to multitask all of this? But I procrastinated trying to deal with a lot of this. And I procrastinated to a point where it all eventually just finally compounded into me cracking and breaking. I'm a little like Humpty Dumpty, like those pieces aren't going back together again. Like the dam's cracked, the water's out. I'm like, I can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I don't know what other weird ass cliche you want me to use in all this. I honestly feel like a bit of a husk of a person at the moment from everything. Like I don't even know. And on the Tuesday when I found Apollo, my mom came over. I gave her a big hug and told her I just wanted a normal life. The part that really hurt was I said I didn't know how to do better. And maybe I don't. But I'm trying to do better. Just like everybody else, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to make a better life. I'm trying my hardest. I am doing everything I can to try to make this all right. To build a good life for me, for my kids, my dogs, my mom, my brother. I'm trying hard to do all this. And it's not easy. It's difficult. And I'm not good at asking for help. Sometimes the way I ask for help doesn't look like I'm actually asking for help so much as just being mad. But sometimes maybe that is my cry for help. I don't know. All I know is if you're in pain and you're hurting, ask for some damn help. Swallow whatever pride you might have over it and just do it. Just ask. It's fine. No one's going to think less of you. Life's a team sport. It's not a single person sport. This is a team activity. We need to start relying more on one another to get through everything. And if we don't, we're not going to make it. This is hard. Like, me opening up like this is just the most difficult thing I've ever probably done. Like, this week's been really difficult. Opening up like this has been really difficult. Sharing my feelings isn't always the easiest thing for me. I don't know if it's a societal thing, saying guys shouldn't have feelings, besides probably the three feelings of happy, hungry, and horny, um, probably sprinkled with some anger and all there. I know my parents tried to make it so my brother and I would be able to handle our emotions better and deal with our feelings properly, and that's what I really wish for my kids too. My youngest is autistic, so I know he's going to deal with things a lot differently than everybody else. And he may not understand the feelings as well as everybody else. He may never understand his feelings. It's kind of hard to say. I just know that in the end, I'll eventually come out stronger and a deeper understanding of myself and where I'm at. But right now, I do feel like a pretty empty husk of a person from everything and just letting everything out. Whether that's a misplaced feeling of an empty husk, I don't know. Maybe it could even just be relief for finally just letting all of this raw emotion and feeling out. I don't know. All I know is it's been a very, very trying week. And I owed my friends an explanation as to what's going on. Because not all of them know. And this is the explanation as to what's been going on as of late. It's been a lot, and I know I've probably missed things. I've probably glossed over a few things. I've probably said things and missed pieces to it, and the story may not be a cohesive timeline, but I am doing my best with all of it. I know this isn't kind of the normal upbeat podcast or video most people are used to from me, but this one is what it is at this point. I can't give you what I don't have at this right at this moment for this podcast. This is where I'm at, and I'm doing it to let people know it's perfectly okay to feel like this. Society puts a lot of pressure on people to always be happy and positive and have a great outlook on life, but it's all a facade in the end. It's like Jocko Willenick says, you can't have the light without the darkness. There is no good without bad. You've got to feel these hard, hard feelings like sadness and grief and guilt and anger to know what happiness and joy and elation are actually like. If you don't have one, you don't have the other. Everything is yin and yang. It sucks to have to go through it, but at some point we all have to go through it. And it is our best that we can do. It hasn't been easy. I do finally have some positive news to end off my week, which is pretty awesome. My car seems to be working properly. We'll find out a little bit more about it today from my brother and his friend, because they want to make sure that everything should be going nicely. We found a small tick, but it's pretty random, so we're thinking that it might have always been there. We're not sure. Pardon me. The timing belt seems to have solved the problem. And our family got a new puppy yesterday too. Not to replace Apollo, because there's no replacing that big goofball. It's kind of for me to fill the void. Start patching in that gap that's been left. And he's such a sweet boy. I want to thank those folks for having him and letting me get him. He's been a real treat. Although he did, our first night, he did keep me up most of the night with sleeping in my room, trying to sleep on my bed, trying to play, maybe trying to be let out as well. I'm not fully sure what he was completely after, but it's been a day. It's been a week, and I really just want to say, if you're not always happy and positive, it's perfectly all right. Being sad and upset and angry, it's part of life. We shouldn't spend too much time there, but we do need to spend the time there to work through it and understand it and be able to work through it. And it helps us grow the tools in ourselves to be able to handle it better next time. And it will help us become better people. And there's always resources out there to help as well. I use one quite often called WellTrack. Canada went to them, or however the scenario went, that they managed to get it for all of Canada during the pandemic, starting of the pandemic, to try and help people out. I've been using it for over a year, just over a year. Started January 1st, 2021. So I've been using it pretty well every day to track my moods and do an assessment every week to kind of see where I'm at and how I'm feeling. And generally, I'm pretty up most of the time. Like, it's pretty rare that I have bad moods. This week's obviously the exception, and same with my assessments. They're pretty low as well. But overall, it's been really good. I also found out that my friends Mike and Candace and run a thing called He Changed It, which is for men's mental well-being and health. I definitely recommend checking that out too. Both of them are actually apps you can download on your app store or of your choice of whatever devices you're using, typically of iOS or Android. And there's quite a bit of resources in both of those to help as well, plus a whole plethora of other resources that can be found on the internet. And if you really need to talk to somebody, but you have a difficult time making appointments, check out things like Better Health. I know there's other ones, just Better Health keeps coming to mind because I've heard it so many times from podcast advertisements and podcasts that I listen to. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Or if you can make the time, and you have benefits at work, definitely talk to somebody in person if you're able to, and help get the work through it. Ask for help. Lean on the people you can, friends, family. People are there to help. You just got to ask. And like I said, I might not ask, and when I do ask, it might not sound like an ask, but it very well could be. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's reached out and helped me through this difficult time. I appreciate and love you all. Yeah, you made this trying time better and easier to deal with. Obviously, I still got more work to do, and I'm going to get on to that. It's Sunday today, so it's pancake day. Told the kids I'd make them pancakes. I got to go to the store and get butter. Um, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. And if you're on my Facebook profile right now and watching this, and if you're just catching the end of it, definitely go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing if you're willing. It's definitely worth it. It's the explanation as to everything that's been going on as to why I had that post Tuesday morning. I just didn't know how else to put this out to people. It seemed like a lot of writing, and I've been talking for nearly an hour. And I don't know if the writing would have conveyed the feelings quite the same way. I could have put the feelings into it, but I don't know if it would have come across quite right. And then also, as I was going through all of this, more feelings of guilt did come up through the week, especially on Friday with my kids coming back to the house, that I had not been the rock and the emotional stability for them. When we found Apollo, I was the one who needed the help and the consoling, and it wasn't them. And usually it's me who's giving them the consoling, and it was them doing it for me. I felt guilty because I wasn't strong enough for them. I felt like I was letting them down. I felt like I was failing them. I didn't feel like I was because I know I scared them a bit on Tuesday, and I don't feel like I was a good dad because of it all. But I'm really trying hard to be a good dad and help them and be there for them. But who cares for the carers, right? Like, who watches the watchmen? It's been difficult, and I got a lot to work through and wrestle with in some cases. But I don't feel guilty about Apollo anymore as of yesterday. We randomly found the potential answers to what happened to him on a YouTube video that we watched, and it's basically described as bloat, which can be just he ends up being bloated and that's it and it goes away, or it's lethal and it happens pretty quickly. And we're thinking that's what happened because he did end up bloating up quite a bit. When we found him in the morning, he was pretty sizable after. I know there's some bloating during death, but he was quite sizable. So we're thinking this might have been what happened to him, which helps alleviate the guilt off of that because I know it's not something I've done at this point, which is a relief. Anyway, I gotta get on with our day. And I want to thank you for spending this nearly hour with me. This is one of the longer videos I've done in a long time, if not the longest I've probably ever done recording. And it's the first one I think I've put to my Facebook profile in quite a long time as well, for my personal Facebook profile. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched, reached out, and helped. I greatly appreciate everything you guys have done. It's been an absolute joy knowing I have so many people in my life who care and love and who recognize signs of people in pain. It's such a great appreciation for all of you. And I don't know what I'd do without any of you. Thank you. And I love you all. And if there's anything I can do for you, I'm always here for you, or to the best of my ability. Thank you again. This is me signing off. Ride hard, live long. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.